Today, Meggin is posing for star photographer Rankin. He has invited her to join him in his studio in North London's Kentish Town district.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Euromaxx. I'm your host, Meggin Leigh, and co-hosting with me today is our very special guest, world-famous photographer Rankin.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having us in your studios here in London.
It's a pleasure.
All right, well, you name it, from the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, Madonna, the Queen, even Miss Piggy. You've pretty much filmed and photographed them all. So I guess it's fair to ask you for my first question, what is a day in the life of Rankin like?
Oh, it's quite long because I get up very early. So I'll probably wake up about 5, maybe 5:30. I get up, I check my emails very quickly. I then take my dogs for a walk for about an hour and a half. I come back, so I'm back by about 6:30, 7. I do emails till about 9:30, and then I come on set generally, or if I've not got a shoot, which is very rare, I'll do meetings. And then I'll probably finish about, well, I always have a lunch at 1, and always have a meeting, never have a lunch on my own. And then I'd probably finish about 7, and then I have meetings till about 8:30.
Okay, so it sounds pretty ordinary, even though you're surrounded by celebrities, when you do actually do a shoot.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much a workaholic. So everybody thinks I'm a photographer, director, but I'm actually much more than that. I have a publishing company, I have an advertising agency, I rep directors, I rep photographers. I have my own studio, I have another studio which I just bought. Yeah, so I'm a kind of business, really.
You're quite busy. Rankin helped us put the show today together. We're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about your publishing company. We'll come to that later on. But, you know, your subjects vary differently from superstar athletes like LeBron James, a basketball star, to actresses, to singers. Walk me through the creative process of how you start a shoot.
Ooh, it's all different. It's always different. You know, sometimes it will be me that's come up with the idea, the ideation. Sometimes it's an agency, sometimes it's a client. Sometimes it's a celebrity that comes up with it. But you basically start with a brief, which is like a treatment. You have pre-production that gets all the stuff that you need for the shoot together. You get on set with the celebrity or the model, the subject, go into hair and makeup. If it's got a kind of concept behind it, there might be like a makeup concept. We'll spend ages doing the concept. I call it glam prism, which means that I'm waiting for glam. And then we get on set and we shoot digitally, which means that everything is seen by everybody and it's a very open forum. So everybody can comment on it. Sometimes that doesn't work for you because maybe the celebrity is not in a really good place that day, so you have to persuade them. I know it can be very difficult, but most of the time it's pretty good because it's very collaborative.
Okay, all right, we want to take a look at the work and life so far of Rankin.
Rankin's portraits are world famous. He manages to do what most photographers can only dream of, capture unforgettable moments with stars like Arnold Schwarzenegger, David Bowie, and politicians like Mikhail Gorbachev or Tony Blair. Many of his works have become iconic, like this official portrait of the Queen to mark her Golden Jubilee. The British photographer is in demand worldwide. He shoots photos and creates ad campaigns for international labels. Rankin has even made a name for himself as a film director. Born as John Rankin Waddell in Scotland in 1966, he demonstrated a good sense of humour early on in his self-portraits. When he was in his early 20s, Rankin decided to make photography his career and moved to London. This is where he got his big break back in the early 1990s. Together with his college friend Jefferson Hack, he founded youth culture magazine Dazed and Confused. Stars like U2 frontman Bono and model Kate Moss, actress Kirsten Dunst, and pop star Justin Timberlake graced the covers. Rankin now publishes 4 fashion and lifestyle magazines and has issued more than 40 books of photographs. He has his own studio, publishing house and ad agency. His latest print project is Hunger magazine, which appears twice a year. And with his ambitious project Rankin Live, the photographer shows that he can make anyone look like a cover model. Since 2009, he's shot pictures of thousands of ordinary people, like here in Berlin. It's an ongoing adventure which takes him around the globe. Sometimes even famous faces aren't immediately recognizable in Rankin's photos, like Icelandic singer Björk or top model Heidi Klum. Whether it's his celebrity portraits or art photography, Rankin has created many iconic images, including some that will go down in history.
So you have done so much in your career. What would you say was perhaps the breakthrough?
Well, not one thing, but a couple of things. Probably photographing Björk was a big thing. Setting up Days, starting Days magazine, and then photographing the Queen. Definitely.
Okay, well, tell us about that, of course.
I'd done a lot of research into Queen and found that she had a sense of humour, so I was really focused on getting a photograph of her with that sense of humour, and whilst I was shooting her, a part of my camera fell off and she started laughing. So once I'd seen that, I was like, that's what I'm going to get, and I just started going, "Ma'am, can you smile? Please, ma'am, can you smile? Ma'am, can you smile?" until she smiled, and then I got it.
Now, you've also worked with ordinary people. What are the challenges there?
The challenges of working with real people are pretty much the same as working with celebrities. You just have to make people feel comfortable. And I think the thing, it's almost more difficult to photograph famous people because they go to their face, their way of being shot, and to get them out of that is more complicated, whereas real people, it's more about just making them feel good. You know, making them feel
comfortable.
Comfortable, yeah.
So what is your preferred medium for working? Film, photography, print?
I think that probably photography is where I'm happiest because it's what I first came to. You know, I picked up a camera when I was 21 and it was a big deal for me because it was like a light bulb moment. So photography is definitely my first love, but I think film is so difficult to do and get right, so it's my challenge in my life, and I don't think I've nailed it particularly yet with drama, but I'm doing quite well with commercials and music videos.
And in 2011, you started yet another magazine, Hunger.
Yes.
Why is it called Hunger?
I started Hunger because I left Dazed as a creative director, and I missed the kind of, I don't know, the team aspect of it, because you get so much information through from and ideas through from working in a team, and I was still hungry, so Hunger seemed like a good name.
Now, the subject in our next report is media artist M. Cole. Tell me a little bit about how you discovered her.
I met her through my agent Sophie, who works for me repping photographers, and I said, "Oh, I want to meet some new photographers," and she said, "Oh, check this girl, M. Cole, out. She's really interesting." And I saw her work and I was like, "Oh, there's some things I'm familiar with." So I asked her if I could meet her, and she came in, and the first question I asked her was, you know, what's your interest in sort of obsession with technology? Because most people your age are more about analog and they're kind of looking backwards. And she said, "Well, I looked around at the industry and it was full of middle-aged white men. No offence," she said to me, and then I was hooked. So I was like, "Oh, you're amazing." And then she told me her story, and it was such like so intense, and her way of dealing with what's happened to her was through her work. So I was very taken by her.
Well, and staying on the subject then of M. Cole and her work, we want to take a closer look now in our next report.
Works by British multimedia artist M. Cole are colorful, provocative, and often unconventional. Photos and videos are her preferred mode of creative expression.
My whole aesthetic is built around treading that line between something that's grotesque and something that's enticing. I feel like photography and film is a flat medium, so I want to bring out the sensory feeling from it. So if I can get people to feel something through the textures or the colours in my imagery, that's just fantastic.
M studied information experience design at London's Royal College of Art. There, she discovered her passion for photography and video art.
I ended up just kind of playing around in the photography studio a lot. I found the immediacy of photography so much more rewarding than kind of spending 24 hours on a sewing machine trying to make a t-shirt. You know, I could just throw stuff in a shot and throw people in the shot and get the picture, you know?
She now works predominantly as a photographer and director. Much of her work is inspired by surrealism and artists like Salvador Dali and René Magritte. Like her short film, I'm Your Venus.
It's poking fun at the female ideal and drawing connections from the past art of classical Renaissance nudes, which are perceived as the most ideal beauty, and connecting it to digital culture today with Instagram and filters, and everyone's trying to beautify themselves and get this, you know, perfect image to go out in the world. So I kind of recreated a new female ideal, kind of an avatar, a digital avatar based on both of those things.
Much of M's work revolves around the stereotypical presentation of women. As a teen, she too fell victim to digital abuse when pictures of her were distributed on pornographic websites. After unplugging for a few years, she's back online with fresh confidence.
You know, if you've been bullied out of a space, you shouldn't be ashamed to be in that space. You deserve to be there as much as anybody else. I mean, I get nude in some of my work sometimes. I'm pushing it. Like, stuff it. I've got control of that, you know? I'm not going to let somebody else take control of my online image. If it's going to be there, it's going to be mine.
Humor and irony are two important stylistic devices M. Cole likes to employ, regardless of whether the topic is serious or not. Like in her video, Sloppy Seconds.
If you're talking about anything serious or especially problematic social problems, then humour is a universal tool to use so that people can relax. And then once people are relaxed, they're so much more likely to get an understanding of your work.
M. Cole certainly can't complain about not getting enough commissions, and the British media artist is confident that her career will continue to blossom.
And now Rankin has invited Meggin to take a short walk through this area of North London where he lives and works.
So M. Cole is not only a media artist, you've also featured her online and in your latest edition or upcoming edition of your magazine. Tell me a little bit more about this collaboration.
Well, I met M. Cole through my agent, as I said, and she is somebody that I think that people should be aware of. So I was very, very keen to get her featured online. I got her featured in Dazed as well. I think that when you get, when you meet someone you really think is brilliant at what they do, you really, really want to get them as much PR and publicity as you can.
Okay, we're standing right here in the middle of London. You're from Scotland. Why Camden Town? Why Camden Lough?
Oh, I moved here because it's not actually Camden. This is Kentish Town,
okay.
So it's okay. When I moved here, it was pretty much the only place in North London that I could afford to move. So we got a really beautiful studio around the corner, and I moved here in '96, just over there, and I lived here and in North London since about '96.
Well, moving from Scotland to London, I mean, I'm just guessing, but it must have felt like you were a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody in the industry when I moved to London. I was very much from a kind of non-commercial photography, non-art, non-advertising background. So it was a very strange experience, and that's why it was great to meet Jefferson at college, because we were both in the same boat. And
from
we
Dazed
both,
and Confused.
Yeah, from Dazed and Confused, and we both ended up kind of, trying to kind of make a mark here without any support from anybody, really.
Mm-hmm. And why here? Why not Hollywood, for example? I mean, you work with so many of these celebrities, famous faces.
I think back then we had no clue that we'd ever be working with Hollywood. We were very much focused on, we were both at college when we met, and we started the magazine Dazed and Confused at college, and it was really just a way of us kind of documenting and creating culture that was around us. So Hollywood wasn't even on our radar.
All right, I want to pull it a little bit back to social media again. I mean, you started out in classic publishing. Now we live in the digital age. You're also really active on social media. as a classic photographer, but also someone who uses social media to promote your work, what is your responsibility when it comes to teenagers and image and these images of beauty online?
Well, I think everybody that picks up a camera professionally has a responsibility to the subject matter, to who you're photographing, to why you're photographing them. But I think nowadays, well, I've kind of learned that myself through process, through knowing, you know, when you sort of push the boundaries, you have to really know why you're doing it and what your intention is. To get to, but the problem is that now people have got no idea of that responsibility and are using it kind of willy-nilly. So I think that actually now I've got more of a responsibility to put a light on that, or to put some sort of focus on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well said. All right, for our next report, which Rankin also helped choose today, we're going to take a look at teenagers, social media, and social media obsession. Are teenagers winning or losing in this digital age?
These days, you can do much more with a phone than just make telephone calls and send text messages. News apps help you keep up with what's going on in the world 24/7. Or you can play games to your heart's content. And if you need a train ticket, you can buy it with your smartphone. Thanks to streaming, you can always access your favorite music. Social media platforms such as Snapchat, Facebook, and Instagram allow you to communicate with friends nonstop. The possibilities are endless. What do young people use their phones for the most?
To find out when the next bus is coming, for music, audiobooks, everything.
Für alles.
I think mostly to interact with other people and also to take some good photos.
I use it mainly for city mapper, to discover the city on my own, listen music a lot, and obviously social media.
I use to surf in internet, to make pictures and to speak with people.
One app is particularly popular at the moment.
Instagram.
J'aime tout sur Instagram.
Users can upload pictures and videos using various filters, share them with others, and like entries. Instagram already has more than 1 billion users, double the figure 2 years ago. People share their favorite experiences. Vacation snaps are particularly popular, as are pictures of animals and of tasty-looking food. It's a perfect platform for showing off, and users love it, especially as it offers them the possibility to present their life in a different way.
Definitely it's not the real world. I edit stuff, everyone edits things.
Instagram is kind of our fake life because this is not really what is really happening in our lives.
There are reports everywhere that things are always being edited out.
There's definitely a lot of them on Instagram. I think a lot of people edit their photos.
You can even change the way you look with some apps and undergo a digital beauty operation. But this is not without problems. Studies have shown that digitally enhanced versions of the ideal body are having an impact on people's perception of themselves. You can even change the shape of your eyes in one click.
It's bizarre. It really makes a difference.
Digital tools make it easy to have plumped up lips.
Oh, that's really weird. Makes me uncomfortable doing that, changing my face like that. If you got used to doing that all the time, then you wouldn't like yourself without it.
Or you can have a narrower nose if you like.
It's as if we were surrounded by perfect people, but that's nonsense. It's not the case at all. Nobody's perfect.
Andreas Nigestisch teaches school children and their parents how to deal with social media. Some children already have smartphones at the age of 8. Why are they such must-have accessories?
It's mostly about social recognition. It's a need that we all have, and the social networks tap into this need very simply, literally at a click. I can upload a picture after buying a new pair of sunglasses, share it with my friends, and get instant feedback.
Nigestisch wants to ensure that young people use their phones and computers responsibly. In other words, continue to use them, but not excessively.
The question is whether you can do something without a smartphone. Are you still able to? It's important to teach children they can survive without their phones, that they can get through a day without them.
Phones and social networks can be addictive. So sometimes the only answer is switch them off.
There's a lot to see in Rankin's studio. Meggin especially liked his Rankomat photo booth.
Now, you wanted to talk about this subject, about the issues of teenagers and social media addiction. Why is this topic important to you?
Well, photography as a medium has become very democratic. Lots of people are using it because of smartphones. And I found myself on different social media platforms kind of wanting to go back to them and check them a lot. And I suddenly realized, probably about 3 years ago, that I was addicted. I was addicted to what people were thinking of my work, how people were relating to it, was it being liked? And I thought, well, if this is me being addicted to it, then if you're a 10, 12-year-old kid, how's that affecting you? How's that influencing you? And I started just talking to people about it, and I just got this overwhelming, response from people that they were having the same feelings. So started to do some research on it, and it was really obvious. There was a lot of statistics coming out on it that actually people were addicted, and that a lot of the platforms were designed to be addictive. And I just felt that we have a responsibility, because it's photography, that they're using them as a way of talking to each other. Photos are a way, they're not about capturing a moment, they're a way of conveying a moment. And because that's something that I do, I just felt responsible, and I felt that we should do something about it.
Okay, well, since you said you felt responsible, what have you done? I mean, have you taken any action or anything?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I am actually taking quite an interesting action. I'm trying to set up a symposium in November with my publishing company, Days Media, to actually discuss all these things. And I've been writing what we call white papers, which are like essays on it, and trying to get a group of people together to write an essay, a series of essays on it.
Okay, so you say that you did become addicted to social media and seeing what people were saying about you. Do you still use social media then?
I do, but I'm also looking into other kind of more ethical ways of using social media, because the problem with it is that it's not necessarily the people that are running the companies that have got a problem. It's the algorithms that they've created that are just constantly feeding our desires, and that is something that it's something that we need to investigate and discuss, and I've been trying really hard to look for alternatives, but yes, I still use it. It's impossible for me not to use it because it's part of my business.
It's part of everyday life now.
It's part of everybody's life, and also I don't think you can change anything from the outside. I think you need to be with the inside, changing it and creating content that's a little bit different, or trying to challenge people, or even having fun with it, because I'm obviously somebody that likes to take the mickey out of things.
Okay, yeah. Going a bit on a lighter note now with selfies. Selfies are meant to be fun.
I think they're very, very dangerous.
You do? Why do you think they're dangerous?
I think what we created is a homogenous look that people are perpetuating through the same type of imagery. And I really think the problem is that if this is what you're putting out as your kind of happy life, your kind of online life, it's like, what's your actual life like? And also, people are looking at these images of people and they're thinking it's real, or they're thinking even if it's fabricated, they have a better life than them, and I think that sets people up against each other. And back in the day when Photoshop came along, all of the media, especially the magazines, got really criticised for using Photoshop on celebrities or on models. Now you can go and buy something called Facetune, and you see people using that on social media, and that inherently is one of the worst things you can be doing, because not only are you creating a fantasy version of yourself, that's going to mess with other people's heads as well. So you're messing with heads in both ways.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that you're trying to do something positive in that direction. But unfortunately, We are out of time for today. No. Yes, we are. Rankin, thank you so much for having us in our studios and for co-hosting our show. I hope we made you feel comfortable as co-host and co-editor-in-chief today.
Thank you, you did, yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, and with that, we are out of time on this special edition of Euromaxx with our special guest today, photographer Rankin. From me and to the rest of the crew here from London, as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye. Too loud. Too loud, yeah. Really good fun. Thank you. Thank you.